This is Anthony Milford, a wonder kid known for his game-changing plays, dazzling footwork and imposing stature.
It ends up terrible. Milford was caught and away goes Milford. He's away. Milford.
But despite his international and state of origin presence, Milford's been known for his off-field antics. From NRL superstar to being shown the door in 2024. This is the rise and fall of Anthony Milford.
They're here again. Not a great ball for Milford. Steps off the left foot this time. This one is...
Anthony Milford was born on the 11th of July, 1994 in the New Zealand city of Auckland. He moved to Brisbane at an early age, spending most of his youth under the Queensland banner. Being of Samoan descent means Milford has a naturally imposing stature. He might not be the tallest player at 5 foot 10 inches tall, but he is around 90 kilos. Quite a bit of weight for a small halfback. Milford grew up playing for the Souths Juniors in Acacia Ridge. Here, he already began showing signs of his true potential. By the time he was 15, Milford already earned national and provincial selection. His first taste of this rugby would come for Queensland and Australia. His final years in high school further boosted his stock, representing the under-16 Queensland side and finally graduating while playing for the South's Logan Magpies. This was naturally followed up by a historic under-18 win for Queensland over New South Wales. The 24-18 scoreline would lead to a star being born heading into his professional career. It was the Canberra Raiders who reacted first, where Milford led the SG ball side to the grand final against the Balmain Tigers. Despite the loss in this massive game, still earns the right to represent the Raiders under-20 side. Anthony was already considered a superstar and was set to be announced for the junior Kiwis. He naturally declined this, pledging allegiance to the country of heritage in Samoa. And by 2013, Milford got more recognition, being named as part of the Queensland Emerging Origin squad.
Had 7 players backing up from the 18-14 loss in the inaugural match last year.
But things were about to get even better. With all this youth success, Milford was awarded a 2-year contract with the Raiders. He finally got the opportunity to make his debut in round 5 against the Sydney Roosters. His season continued going from strength to strength. Making his international debut for Samoa the same year.
Anthony Milford. This is Sparta. Milford runs around goal to score.
But his time with the Raiders was coming to an end. Now a hot prospect and a possible free agent. Many NRL sides wanted the young superstar. But it was the Brisbane Broncos who earned the signature at the end of 2013. The Broncos signed him for a whopping $900,000, locking him up for 2 years.
I think the big difference, Darren, and correct me if I'm wrong, by the time you went to play 5'8" in the NRL, you might have been 26. You'd have had
which would later turn into a 7-year partnership with the Queensland-based side. During his first year for the Broncos, Milford continued pushing himself to new heights. The Broncos would end up playing in the 2015 NRL Grand Final.
Joint captain of the side was Matthew Scott. They've never won a grand final.
Unfortunately, the Broncos would come up a little short. The 15-16 defeat against the North Queensland Cowboys by Golden Point would be one of his lowest points early in his career.
Thurston to choose from with Coot. He hits it, he's got it! He's got the field goal! He's got the...
Nevertheless, his first season with the Broncos was successful, where he featured in all 27 games and scored 13 tries. This meant that Milford was still considered a superstar, but it was also around this same time that his antics started. These would play a pivotal role later on in his career. By 2016, the young star earned a call-up to the QAS Emerging Maroons. Showing his skill and willingness to play meant that he was surely going to State of Origin. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Due to breaking curfew, Milford and 8 other players from the emerging Maroons found themselves banned. They would be ineligible for Origin selection for 12 months. Nevertheless, Milford continued showing his skill and had a more than successful 2016 season.
Here again, not a great ball for Milford. Steps off the left foot this time. This one is...
He earned a call-up to the Australian Kangaroos during the 2016 Four Nations. He declined the offer, but won the coveted Peter Fralingo's Headline Moment of the Year award. For the 2017 season, Milford would undoubtedly earn a call-up to State of Origin.
Now, Corey Oates takes Milford out. There's the hit by Chambers. And Corey Oates collides with Milford and takes him out in exactly the same fashion. Both players went down. They were in all sorts here when Ferguson took off. Cronk was able to defuse it on the other side, but...
And so it happened. An injury which sidelines number 1 halfback Jonathan Thurston opened the door for the Brisbane native. Milford latched onto the opportunity. He would play in Game 1, only to be subbed in the second half due to a concussion. What many fail to see is that despite the injury, Milford was merely 22 years old, and he has already accomplished so much in the NRL. The following year saw Milford once again earn an Origin selection, which would also turn out to be the last. Subsequently, his downfall was about to hit much harder than any tackler. Milford was naturally a controversial character. Since his early days, when he was banned from Origin due to missing curfew, it was clear that some of his success had become a bit of a problem. By 2019, his success and that of the Broncos were going downhill. The star halfback struggled for form, and the Broncos only managed 8th in the NRL. 2020 would be even worse, with the Broncos earning the wooden spoon in what would be their worst year ever.
7 runs for 40 metres. Now, if that's what you want from your fullback, if you flip the coin there, and we talk about stats a lot, and it's not always...
Due to poor performances, few players would earn a call-up for the State of Origin series. Perhaps it could have been his history with injuries that finally caught up with the youngster. Nevertheless, he was still doing his very best, but 2021 would be one of the worst years for Milford in his storied career. A perfect storm unfolded. With the Broncos not performing, Milford was informed on the 1st of July 2021 that his contract would not be extended.
That Milford won't be offered a deal by Brisbane beyond his current contract, so...
This once again meant that he would become a free agent. He was even demoted from the Brisbane side on several occasions. But just a few days later, the South Sydney Rabbitohs announced they had signed the former star.
To white in a second.
But the worst was yet to come. A few months after this, Milford was arrested following the alleged assault. He was formally charged with 3 counts of assault occasioning bodily harm and a single count of willful damage. This sparked controversy in the NRL, which later affected his new contract with the Rabbitohs. In fact, the NRL would blatantly refuse to register his contract with the Rabbitohs. The organisation cited his criminal proceedings as a reason for their decision. The Newcastle Knights would take the chance and sign Milford after the Rabbitohs contract fell through. However, this was subject to various conditions. Following his criminal proceedings, where he pleaded guilty to a charge of public nuisance, the assault charges were withdrawn. Milford had to complete a few rehabilitation programs. His suspension would last until round 11, but Milford found himself spending more time in the sin bin than anyone else for the 2022 season. A professional foul in round 18 would be followed by an illegal shoulder charge in the opening game of the Rugby League World Cup. Samoa would go on to lose the final against Australia despite Milford being back. The following year would see Milford sign for the Dolphins, but this was clearly the downturn of his career.
Anthony Milford in favour of 19-year-old half Isaiah Katoa. Dolphins skipper Jesse Bromwich addressed the decision earlier today, calling on Milford to support the team playmaker.
After 2 years with the Dolphins and only playing 13 games, he was finally released, signing for the South Logan Magpies for the 2025 season. But what went wrong when he had such a bright future? We must try to make sense of how Milford went from prospective star to almost unemployed. At the time of this video, Milford is in his early 30s, And while this is the natural period of regression, many top players often make it into the NRL deep into their 30s. His first real issue came when he was banned from the state of origin due to breaking curfew. This was the first sign of a man putting himself above the team. Secondly, the assault situation forced him to lose a year of his playing career. One thing noticed in modern sports is that there are so many good players, missing a year could be detrimental to someone's career. These factors all contribute to teams' decisions when signing the star. Not only did it make him unreliable, but these off-field antics began to spill over into the field. His persistent injuries often kept him on the sideline, but when he is on the pitch, he ends up in the sin bin. Where Milford would usually change the game with his blistering footwork and an eye for a gap, it simply faded. Milford's personality is also mostly about himself instead of those around him, and these decisions have come to haunt him. Many fans now refer to him as the legend that should have been, but never was. This will likely be the legacy the former Queensland star leaves behind, judging by some of the halfback issues the Queensland Maroons have been dealing with. Milford would have been a great addition. Whether Anthony Milford would launch a career-defining comeback remains to be seen, but we would love to hear some of your thoughts in the comment section below. Was Milford treated fairly? Did he deserve some of his bans? Let us know in the comments below, and please make sure to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue creating this content.